Hello and welcome to The Bottom Line on TVP World. This is where we unpack some of the main business and economic stories of the day. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Europe is at a crossroads now that the continent finds its relationship with the US somewhat strained. Experts and politicians are scrambling to find alternatives to the services Europe has been relying on the US for decades. One such domain is space, where over-reliance on the ally from the other side of the Atlantic is perhaps most obvious. Europeans count on Americans when it comes to launch services, satellite surveillance and satellite communication. And right now, the EU is laying the groundwork to build domestic alternatives to those services. Let's take a look at the feature report prepared by Jan Kennedy.
And liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket, carrying satellites for Amazon's Project Kuiper internet constellation.
With this launch, one of the world's largest tech companies has officially entered the space-based internet race. On Tuesday, 27 of the over 3,200 Amazon-owned Project Kuiper satellites arrived in low orbit and will challenge the industry's biggest player, Elon Musk's Starlink. But with Project Kuiper being the second American satellite constellation of its kind, this only shows how far Europe lags behind the US. But efforts are underway to close the gap. In December, the European Commission kick-started an effort to develop its own constellation, IRIS², with 300 satellites, aimed at boosting Europe's independence in space-based internet.
Our member states depend on secure connectivity. Social lives will depend on secure connectivity. In times of crisis, we cannot afford to be too dependent on countries or companies from outside the European Union.
At present, the European Union has one notable satellite service provider, Eutelsat. However, its offering, OneWeb, significantly lags behind SpaceX's Starlink. Strained relations with the US have further fueled the EU's push for space sovereignty, including the drive to develop domestic launch capabilities and even military satellites, as announced by Kubilius in a March interview with Financial Times. This means business opportunities for European space companies. The question remains, can smaller entrants from the CEE region also profit from the drive?
We don't have knowledge and experience that other countries have. So commercialization is very important, especially in space sector, but at the same time it's harder because it's super expensive. That's first of all. And secondly, not many people understand that it's research and development, it's high technology, it needs time, it needs experience.
Despite that, the region has already witnessed successes of some space ventures. One example is ICE-I, co-founded by Polish entrepreneur Rafał Modrzewski, which provides radar imaging of Earth, useful for both military and civilian purposes.
We are the largest provider of flood information in Australia. We're the largest provider of flood information in Japan, that actually floods really a lot. We're the largest provider of flood information in the United States and Canada.
Modrzewski stresses that one of the key challenges facing the European space industry is the widespread lack of confidence in the continent's ability to compete globally.
I actually had investors that turned us down because they said you can't do it in Europe. And yet we've proven them wrong, right? We actually not only have done this in Europe, we've done this in Finland and in Poland, two countries which are rather not your first bet.
This skepticism persists despite successes of companies like ICE-I, which operates a network of 50 satellites and many European-funded programs.
We have several programs and projects where Europe is leading. I take the navigation program Galileo is one example where we have the most accurate signal in the world, which is produced from the Galileo PNT satellites.
The question is whether Europe can leverage all this experience to throw a gauntlet at the US space industry's doorstep. And can companies from CEE participate in this drive?
And we have good indication of jettison of all 5 SRBs.
As you can see, Europe is urgently responding to the fact that it cannot completely rely on Washington. But this is also meaning that there is a business opportunity here for companies in Central and Eastern Europe, where governments have strived for years to develop more high-tech industries to strengthen their economies. To see whether Central and Eastern European businesses can profit from European push towards space, let's go to an interview we recorded last week at the European Economic Congress in Katowice with Grzegorz Brona, CEO and co-founder co-founder of Creat Instruments, the largest Polish space company. And I'm very pleased to be joined by the CEO and founder of Creat Instruments, Grzegorz Brona. I also want to say that this is the leading Polish technology company that specializes in electronics and systems for the space industry. I hope I got that right.
Yes, indeed. What actually we are doing small satellites, but yet there's yet another factor. We are also doing quantum systems for quantum computers and quantum key distribution. So we are a multifunctional and multi-technological company, one of the biggest in Poland so far.
And also, I think it's worth noting that in 2022, Creat Instruments was the first Polish space tech company to enter the Warsaw Stock Exchange.
Yes, so we went public in 2022, and we are still present at the Warsaw Stock Exchange. And I hope we bring some happy days for our investors, recently at least.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we get into Creotech Instruments and just the recent development of the company, I wanted to get your opinion about the Polish space industry and the role that perhaps it can play or is already playing when it comes to the big European space projects.
Well, the first thing that you should know about Polish space industry, that it is pretty young industry. We have started in 2012, so 13 years ago, when Poland joined European Space Agency. Of course, before that date, we did have some scientific institutes, some scientific universities that did space, at least space research. But then after 2012, there was, a lot of opportunities on the European market after we have joined European Space Agency. So the number of companies increased by a factor of several. So now we have in Poland like 60 different space-oriented companies. With a Creotech, the biggest one, we do have on board like 250 people. Still, it's not comparable with Airbus Defence and Space, but it is, I would say, the biggest in Poland and the biggest in Central Europe. Of course, the space race started in 50s of the last century. So we had to pick up and choose some niche and some specialities when we still could, fight for the best products, at least in Europe.
In terms of this focus on defense, when perhaps maybe not even focus on defense, but this need for defense and security, where do you see Creotech Instruments fitting in?
All right.
And meeting that demand, shall we say?
All right. Here we should mention a program that we signed last year, December last year, with the Polish MOD. We signed a contract for a couple of small satellites, observation satellites, and the amount of the contract is 120 million euros, so it's a pretty large contract. We should deliver a small constellation of satellites that is composed of 4 such units by the year 2027. Still, these are pretty small satellites. These are much smaller than the Airbus satellites or Maxar satellites, but they are much cheaper and they are produced here in Poland.
And that also, I suppose, feeds into the development and the focus on local demand. Are you able to provide new jobs, perhaps provide new expertise, train up the country?
Well, we started to prepare this project that is now being ordered by the military in 2017. We decided to invest time and a lot of money to be completely independent from the US companies or from the Chinese companies. So we focused on the chain of our suppliers in European Union or in Canada. So in 98%, the satellite is composed by the components and subsystems that are coming from, let's say, very friendly states. And 80% of these satellites are being produced and manufactured in Poland. It took us 7 years to prepare all the components and all the subsystems, but at the end, we gain the capability to deliver the satellites to Polish government via the MOD programs and also to the European Space Agency. We just signed an order 2 weeks ago for yet another 3 satellites that will be delivered also in the year 2027.
Is this the one that was signed on the 16th of April?
Yes, this program is called Camila. It is composed out of 3 satellites. 2 of them are optical satellites and 1 of them is a radar satellite. Probably the program will be enhanced by a 4th satellite. I would say it could be ordered next month. So this is being done for European Space Agency, but at the end, the user is a Polish government. It's a program that is being parallel to this military program. So the one is called Microglobe for the military. The one for the civilian use, it is called Camila.
In terms of surveillance, shall we say, or as we say colloquially, spy satellites, is this something that Creotech is going to focus on more and more as the need for defense and security increases?
Well, we are mainly focused on so-called platforms. A satellite is composed out of a payload. A payload could be a telescope, it could be a radar, it could be a telecommunication unit. And then there's a platform, a system that is composed of a computer, of a power system, of a system that is rotating satellite, of a propulsion system, etc. So what we are doing platforms, and then we are selecting payloads from the market. So we could combine our platform with an optical payload, we can combine our platform with a radar payload, and then we have a surveillance satellite, let's say. But then we could also combine our platform with a telecommunication payload. And then we could have a satellite similar to a Starlink system.
And in terms of the challenges that lie ahead for Creotech, because everything that you've shared with us sounds very positive, and it sounds as though Creotech is only developing in recent times, but surely there must be some challenges in terms of collaboration, or if only when it comes to funding and government cooperation.
Well, it changed a lot in the recent 2 years. The budget for the space programs in Poland increased by a factor of 10 in 2023.
It increased
Increased, yeah.
So that's good news.
That's a lot, yeah. That's a lot, and therefore we could, realize and perform these big programs for the military and for civilian use. Without that, we would be still a startup that is somehow developing new systems, new products, but there's no client and no money. After 2023, it changed a lot. There will be yet another decision taken this year because there's a meeting at the level of the European Union, the level of the European Space Agency, at the meeting of the prime ministers and the ministers from different countries, and they will be deciding about the funding for the next years, the years to come. I hope the decision will be taken to increase our budget, our Polish budget, and we could also have a bigger piece of cake at the end.
Do you sense that there is a significant or sufficient recognition for the role of space when it comes to security, research and defense? Because as technology moves forward, there's definitely a sense that we're moving defense up into the skies.
These are actually so-called dual-use technologies. So we could use them for civilian purpose, we could use them for some crisis management, and we can use them for the military purpose, for the military surveillance. Of course, now, after the breakout of the war in Ukraine, this third leg, so the military usage, increased a lot, and now the focus is mainly on these topics. But still, the satellite data could be used in the farming, in the agriculture, in foresting, in the surveillance of the critical infrastructure. So at the second leg, where there's no military interest. With these two, we can serve a lot of different markets, and therefore, at the end, each zloty or euro or dollar invested in the space sector in Poland could come back to our industry, to our economy, 10 times, tenfold.
I know that Creotech also specializes in quantum technologies, as you said at the beginning of our conversation. Can you tell us a little bit more about how those operate?
Yeah, quantum technology is the next big thing to come. We are focusing on two different topics. The first one is quantum computing. So these are beasts of the future, let's say, these quantum computers that could solve different kinds of very sophisticated and very challenging problems that could not be solved now with standard computers. Like, for instance, we could search for new drugs for cancer. We could optimize financial markets pretty easily having a quantum computer. But still, there's a long way to go to achieve these goals because the technology is still not here. I would say this will happen in the year 2030. When Creotech is, we are not preparing quantum chips. We are not preparing, the heart of the quantum computer. We are doing all the other stuff that is helping this heart to, provide answers which are, needed by the operator. So we are preparing the electric system for the quantum computer. We are preparing control systems for the quantum computers. And I hope there will be a huge market for us in the year 2030.
There was a bit of an issue when it comes to financing from the Polish Agency for Enterprise Development. First, you had a green light from them, and then they pulled out. Can you tell us a little bit more about what happened there?
It's actually quite complicated, and I do not understand it either. The problem is for sure with the understanding of the people that are, judging the projects that are sent to the Industrial Development Agency. In my opinion, they do not have correct competences. They are probably great engineers. They are probably
but this is a government body.
Yeah, it is a government body. They are probably great scientists, but they do not feel space sector. They do not have a correct knowledge about the space sector. So this is probably a problem. They do not understand what they are actually seeing in the projects that we are sending to them.
But my understanding is that you are appealing.
Yes, we are now appealing, and we have to wait yet another 2 months for the answer from this body.
Okay, so there is still a margin of hope that
there's still a margin of hope, and the project is connected with the safe communication via satellites, so this is a hot topic, both from the civilian perspective and from the military perspective as well.
Absolutely, okay. Grzegorz Brona, CEO of Creat Instruments, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you a lot for the invitation.
And we absolutely love your jacket. Hopefully the merchandise will also be available.
It will happen soon.
Okay, we look forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you a lot.
And that concludes The Bottom Line for today. I was your host, Marie Kesu. We're on every weekday at 5:10 CET on TVP World. And in the meantime, for the latest in regional business, follow us on X and on tvpworld.com. And for more news and analysis, stay with us on TVP World. Goodbye.